New pushback in the fight over federal funding for Planned Parenthood. Dozens of Democratic lawmakers now want to punish states who cut funding off from those clinics by slapping those states with penalties. Let's bring in Ford O'Connell, Republican strategist and former presidential campaign advisor, and Jehmu Greene, former president of Women's Media Center and a Fox News contributor. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Hi, Shannon. All right. So apparently a letter has gone out from 30 Democratic senators to HHS, to the Secretary, Kathleen Sebelius, saying, hey, we want you to keep an eye on these states. We know Indiana has recently passed a law that many find very controversial about state agencies and funding that flows to Planned Parenthood. So, Ford, why does Planned Parenthood need this money in the first place?
Well, I don't know. I mean, kudos to Indiana for trying to protect life. I mean, I think the Indiana legislature is on to something. The question is whether or not it will actually make it through the courts, because I have a feeling this will go to the courts.
All right, Jehmu, if it does, how do you think it plays out?
Well, I think we have to look at the facts starting in Indiana. In Indiana, Planned Parenthood is a trusted healthcare provider that has seen, in the last year, 85,000 women have used their services. Almost 30,000 of those services were cancer screenings. Then the 30,000 that have gone through their services for sexually transmitted diseases. It's clear that what has happened in Indiana is that Governor Daniels signed a bad bill that is unconstitutional and violates federal regulations. And that's why I think these senators have stepped in and communicating to HHS, and they should be applauded for that. We cannot have states putting laws in effect that go against Medicaid regulations and take away a woman's right to make a decision about what healthcare provider she wants to go to, especially the 10,000 women on Medicaid who currently cannot go to their trusted healthcare provider, Planned Parenthood, because of this legislation.
Well, and Ford, there is a point here over the numbers. I mean, it's reported that 48% of Planned Parenthood patients are on Medicaid. So why shouldn't that entity get the money it needs to serve those patients?
Well, Indiana is clearly trying to limit the scope of Roe. I mean, they could possibly redraft the legislation in a more broad way about Medicaid funding and whether or not there's accountability and fraud there. If they tried that, putting on my best Justice Scalia hat, they may have a better argument. We are seeing other actions like this around the country in Florida, South Dakota, and Ohio, where states are saying, hey, this is a states' rights issue, and we want to limit the scope of Roe, and we want to protect life.
All right, you mentioned some of the other states. Apparently, bills to cut Planned Parenthood funding are coming up in Tennessee, Texas, Wisconsin, Kansas, and North Carolina. Jehmu, how much does that worry you?
Well, it is troubling, and I absolutely agree with Ford. This is an attempt to limit the scope of Roe. This is an attempt to stop a trusted healthcare provider from being able to provide a constitutionally protected medical procedure. And it's not a states' rights issue to go against the Constitution. And that is exactly, I think, what is at hand in Indiana and these other states. They were considering this. But I think it's great that the administration has stepped in and is providing some direction on that they cannot go against these Medicaid regulations. It is a funding issue for these states as well.
And Ford, is that the bottom line? Is this not about state rights?
This is completely about states' rights. And not only that, abortion is not constitutionally protected. It's protected by precedent under the United States Supreme Court. States are telling you what they want. And, one way for Indiana to get around this is to drop out of Medicaid. Let's be honest. Arizona was the last state to join Medicaid. If they really want to make a point to drop out of Medicaid, unfortunately, I don't think that's a very politically winning argument for the state of Indiana.
All right, Jehmu, quickly, final word to you.
It absolutely would not be. It would not be a winning argument for them to drop out of Medicaid. And it is a constitutionally protected medical procedure. And this is an attempt for states to go around the constitutionally protected Medicaid procedure. And I think Planned Parenthood, again, is such a trusted healthcare provider. For the states to try to step in and pull away that provider, that goes against everything that we talked about in the healthcare reform debate, that people want to be able to choose who their healthcare providers are, and particularly women who have little options, little money. Planned Parenthood is where they go to for cancer screenings, for sexual transmitted disease screenings, and it's an important provider that needs that support.
We got to leave it there. Thank you both for joining the debate. We'll be right back.